Howdy, it's Jim Morado, and this is very late March 2025. We are in Arizona. We're driving from Phoenix to Flagstaff. And this video, actually, I taped quite a bit. This will be probably 25 minutes or so, maybe even half an hour, of some clips just driving from Phoenix to Flagstaff. And I'll be chatting a little bit about our trip. If that sounds interesting, please join me, and thank you. If that does not sound interesting, I won't be offended. Go watch some of my other videos, please. We did this trip, and I'm sure I will be putting up several videos from our trip. Yeah, but anyway, I just thought I would try to put up one video talking about the trip in general, kind of introing things. I did put together another video similar to this one of us just kind of driving out of Phoenix and talking a little bit about Phoenix and what we did there. So check that one out too, but it'll be similar to this one. And yeah, I might have some shaky camera movements here and there. Please forgive me if that's the case. But wanted you to see the landscape, wanted you to see those great skies, mountains, and kind of yellow, brown, red greenery that you see here and there. Speaking of the landscape, you know, if you've been to Arizona, if you've driven through it, it is the one state where things truly change quick. In fact, as we drove from Phoenix to Flagstaff, the temperature was in the 80s in Phoenix. And by the time we got to Flagstaff, it was in the 50s. Pretty much the same thing happened in reverse the day we drove from Flagstaff back to Phoenix. So we drove through snow. In fact, on this trip, early April, there was a lot of snow around the Flagstaff area where we mostly stayed. And there were even a couple of times that I would say we were driving in, or pretty much in whiteout type conditions, and that wasn't what I expected in Arizona, but it happens, and it's no big deal, and we still had a great time. And yeah, just check out the roads, long roads that go on forever, and a lot to see. And I know I've told this story before. I know I mentioned it on the little Phoenix video I put together. But back in 2004, we were living in Cleveland, Ohio. And my wife's work basically sent her to do a training in Phoenix. And at that time in our life, anytime we had vacation time, we would go from Cleveland, Ohio down to Western Kentucky to see my family. And we did that a lot, and it's just, again, vacation time meant going to Western Kentucky. But we decided, since her work was paying for this training, they pretty much told her, like, take your husband with you, have a good time. So we decided, what the heck, let's make this a nice little work trip kind of thing. So I went with her, and we stayed at the, I mentioned it on the other video, the Squaw Peak Hilton. I think it's now the Hilton Resort at the Peak, and we had a great time. In fact, I'd love to stay there again at some point. Very, very nice place to stay, and they had one of those lazy river things where you can kind of float around on an inner tube all day and just enjoy floating on an inner tube in Arizona. It was great. While she would go to her training, I would get up in the morning. Great little coffee shop down the road. It was called Plantation Coffee. I would go there and read, which is a little ritual I do a lot of the time. I'll read an hour or two before I get my day started, and then I'd get something for lunch and come back to the resort, float around on an inner tube, and then in the evening we would go out somewhere nice in Phoenix. And it was just a great trip. A legendary trip in my mind. A few years later, we went back to Arizona with another couple from college, and we did some spring training baseball games, and we spent a few days in Sedona, and we just had another great trip. So we were talking to that same couple not too long ago, and we mentioned that we've been dying to get back to Arizona. They also thought it would be cool to do the trip again. They've had a couple of kids in the meantime, and so we sort of redid our trip from 2007 with the same couple from college and their two kids now, and that was a lot of fun. We did not do baseball games. We did not come up here for spring training, but we covered a whole lot of ground. I still love baseball, but it's just baseball can be time consuming, and if I want to enjoy Arizona, I want to enjoy Arizona. Yeah, that's where I'm at in life right now. Anyway, but back to that first trip. We came to the Phoenix area. We were able to go up to the Grand Canyon. We spent a little bit of time in Sedona on that first trip, and just had some magical experiences. We were driving back from Sedona to Phoenix one night. It was dark, and the skies are so perfectly clear. And I do remember that Thin Lizzy's Cowboy Song was on the radio, and I remember seeing a shooting star, and it was just such a special moment. And my wife had been looking for some, she likes to buy something nice, something small but nice jewelry wise when we travel. And we stopped at a rest area, and there was a little Native American lady with a little fold out of some stuff she'd made, and she had really good prices. She was very sweet. She had a dog with her, and my wife found exactly what she was looking for, and we just had several great moments like that. And that to me is Arizona. It's mysterious, it's haunting, it's beautiful, very much otherworldly too, with the landscape and all. If you live in Arizona, you see it all the time, but it's very different if you come from Kentucky. On this particular trip, we did squeeze in 7 national parks and national monuments, counting the Grand Canyon. We also went to the Painted Desert, Petrified Forest, Sunset Crater, Waputki, I know I'm mispronouncing that, Montezuma's Castle, and I know there's another one. I'll think of them here in a little bit, but I'll put up videos on each of those national parks. We bought the park pass. It's $80, and it covers your entry fee for a year. And if you live in Kentucky or Tennessee, that pass actually doesn't do you a whole lot of good, because most of the national parks in this area don't charge an entry fee. If you go out west, though, I know when we've gone to South Dakota, you've got the Badlands, Mount Rushmore, some of those parks, Devil's Tower. We've bought the pass out there too, but it doesn't really save you a whole lot of money if you're in Kentucky, Tennessee, Indiana, Michigan. But when you go out west, it definitely does. So we bought it on this trip, and we definitely got our money's worth out of it. And every one of those parks was worth a visit. We were surprised by every one of them. I guess we had... I always have high expectations when I go to a national park, but I often find myself being wowed even more than I expected once I get to a park. Definitely felt that way with Petrified Forest and Walnut Canyon National Park. That was another one. So yeah, we just had a great time and enjoyed going to those national parks. We also hit Meteor Crater while we were here, and we did a pink Jeep tour in Sedona, and that was fun. We did alter our plans a little bit at times because of the snow, so we kind of flip-flopped the days we were going to go to Sedona and the days we went to the Grand Canyon, and it still snowed. The day we went to Sedona, it snowed a little bit on the way there. We got there, we did our Jeep tour, and it stopped snowing. In fact, if you watch that video, you'll see there's really not a whole lot of snow on the ground. It doesn't look like it's just snowed. Then after we were done with our Jeep tour, it started snowing again. So we decided to leave Sedona and do some other stuff. So I did not get to spend nearly as much time in Sedona as I would have liked to have. And I kind of regret that a little bit. I love Sedona. However, this is Arizona. I didn't spend enough time in Phoenix. Several other little towns I'd like to get to. Even Flagstaff, we pretty much stayed based out of Flagstaff. I would have enjoyed some more time in Flagstaff. Speaking of Flagstaff, that's a great little town. Very nice little downtown area. It was a nice area to sort of camp out while we were in Arizona. And speaking of Arizona, just a few thoughts. When I think of Arizona, I always think of the old TV show Alice, which was, supposedly, it was based in Arizona. And that show lasted, 9 seasons? I remember watching that as a kid, and it was just a cute show. And then as I've become an adult, it's a show that I've gone back and watched and just appreciated it. I don't think its influence was appreciated enough. And, I'm a big fan of Waitress, the musical. And, you watch that and you're like, there's some Alice influence in this. I was watching an episode of Alice some time ago, and there was Jim Varney. He kind of shows up. He was going out with Alice, or not Alice, but with Flo one night. And it was just kind of cool seeing Kentucky's Jim Varney on an episode of Alice. That show was sweet, but it was also kind of sad too. And I don't think people, if you grew up in the last couple of decades, the thought of your car breaking down as you're driving and just sort of starting over again where your car broke down. I don't think people get that. You've got your cell phone now. You've got your credit card. You got. There's so many ways to get out of a predicament now or a tough situation that were not available back in the 70s. Anyway, I always think of Alice when I think of Arizona. By the way, we're driving kind of a crazy stretch of the road right now. My wife was driving, thank goodness. I think the speed limit was 65 through here. It's freaking 75 through a lot of parts of Arizona. This is a stretch that, you look over to the right and there's some drop-offs there. This is a little bit of a nightmare-inducing stretch of road. It's beautiful, but it's also a little scary. And again, I was glad she was driving. But yeah, check that out as we're driving by. Also watched the 2011 movie called Sedona, which was filmed and sort of based in Sedona. Lots of great scenery in that movie. They took advantage of the beauty of Sedona, and I thought that was pretty cool. When we were there, back on our second trip, we went to the Red Planet Diner, which figures prominently in that movie called Sedona. And I love that place. It was kitschy. You have the whole UFO alien theme going on, which is very appropriate for Sedona. But the food was good too, and I was disappointed to see that they have since closed since our last visit and since that movie was made. But Sedona is still Sedona. I did look up some of the other businesses I remembered from our second trip, and many of them have moved along too. I do think, I think Sedona's the kind of place that it's tough to make it in a town like Sedona. We also did Winslow, Arizona on this trip. We went as an Eagles fan. I love the Eagles, one of my favorite bands. Always loved Don Henley's solo stuff. And yeah, that's the Eagles, probably easily one of my top 3 favorite bands, maybe my favorite band, period. But we went and saw the Standing on the Corner monument statue, also a statue of Glenn Frey. If you're an Eagles fan, you got to go do it. and we did, and that was a lot of fun. Had a great time at Grand Canyon. And, again, this was our third visit to Grand Canyon. All of our other visits have pretty much been day trips. And we pretty much drove around, hiked around a little bit, and just checked out the scenery. But all three visits have been very unique. So, yeah, in the future, I definitely would like to spend a lot more time just at the Grand Canyon. That's the thing about Arizona. It's you think Texas, Florida, California. There's certain states that just have so much going on for them. A brief 1-week visit does not cover a lot of ground. I can think of a few states that really, a day, 2 days, 4-day weekend, you've pretty much covered the state. And that's not the case with Arizona. And I always feel like there's more to see. And the more I read up on Arizona, the more I want to know about it, if that makes sense. Read a bunch of books on Arizona before and after our trip out there. A favorite, because it's so weird, is a book called Over the Edge: Death at the Grand Canyon. If you go to your favorite search engine, or if you're looking for that book, if you type in Death at the Grand Canyon, you're going to get that book. It's going to pop up. And I found the third edition recently came out in the last year or so. I had previously read the second edition. The third edition is a couple hundred pages bigger, and it's updated through about 2024. And it is literally a book of all the known documented deaths in the Grand Canyon. And it obviously is a dark book. It covers some true crime and some other stuff, but it is an interesting book to have around. And yeah, I mean, if you appreciate true crime, if you appreciate just weird books, the fact that the authors have kept statistics on this stuff, it's pretty amazing. I know, like Niagara Falls, I know that they've quit publicizing deaths there because they don't want to encourage jumpers and that sort of thing. So it's just a strange, weird book, but it is very fascinating too. I'm sure I'll talk more about that during my Grand Canyon video. But yeah, just wanted to mention that one. Read a couple books on Flagstaff. I'll get to more book stuff later. But the Grand Canyon is just so interesting. In that book, they covered so many strange situations, including they were hunting for a fugitive that had gotten away, and he even spent I think a night or two at the El Tovar Hotel while they were looking for him at the Grand Canyon. Again, I know it's kind of a weird topic, but it is so fascinating. And, I know my wife and I just got done with this trip, and, I mentioned to her, like, why don't we try to go back again here in the next year or two? We both had a lot of fun, but I'm not sure if we can make it back again in the next year or two, but I'm sure we'll be back within the next few years. We went out to, we did our South Dakota trip, the first time we went to South Dakota, 2012, and we loved that trip. We made it back again in 2019, and then when COVID kind of hit in 2020, we were thinking about a trip to take where we could go somewhere, do something, but not be around big crowds. So we did South Dakota again, literally 1 year after doing it the first time. And that's another state that I love it, and I just can't get enough of it. So hopefully we'll be able to make it back to Arizona very soon. I will say our plane flights from Kentucky to Arizona, everything went pretty good. On the way back, we flew out of Phoenix to Charlotte, and even people on the plane and people I've talked to since, I've heard a lot of grumbling about Charlotte and the Charlotte airport, and I get it. I hate to say it that way. Also, we were flying American, and it was, well, when they sent me the little survey at the end of our flight, I was pretty rough on them. Our flight left Phoenix late. We were going to have about an hour and a half layover in Charlotte, and our plane probably left Phoenix about an hour and a half late. We pulled into Charlotte, and then we kind of had to just sit there for a while they figured out which gate we were going to go into. And then, they kind of announced, hey, we know we've gotten you here late. If you've got to make a quick... They basically asked everybody that did not have to make a quick run to the next gate to stay put and let the other people go before them. Of course, probably 75% of the plane needed to get to another flight. And there was the one woman on the plane who thought she was the only person alive, and sort of, man, it was just ugly. She basically was like, "I got to get to my gate," and she started yelling and screaming, and it was a very ugly scene. And I get it. You're on a plane. You're not in control of things. I've seen people panic and freak out, but I was afraid she was about to hit somebody. And everyone on the plane realized how rude she was being, but I think to avoid any sort of conflict, they just kind of let her get off the plane real quick. Anyway, we had to run. We were at one gate. We were getting there in the B section. We had to run to the far other end of E, and I mean, even at the nice jog we did, it must have taken us 10 or 15 minutes. And when we got to the other flight, I mean, they were getting ready to close the gate, and we kind of yelled at them, and the lady at the counter was very rude to us. Like, well, yeah, you need to hurry up and get on over here. We're about to close the gate. And it was like, well, your plane is the one that got us here late, so of course we weren't rude, but they were very rude to us, just to be honest. Thank you, American. But yeah, it was just a bad experience. And I have a friend, Richard. He flies a lot, probably at least once or twice a week for work. And he was telling me, actually, I've had several him in particular, and some other friends have brought up how tough the Charlotte airport is. And yeah, so yeah, we'll definitely try not to fly into Charlotte next time, and we'll probably think of a different airline next time too. But that's just how it went. We still had a great trip overall, but coming back was a little rough. Yeah, getting closer to Flagstaff, and again, such different scenery as you're going through here. Stayed at a nice, I want to say a Hilton. It was a very standard, good experience. I do like to stay at historic hotels sometimes when we can, but this was the kind of trip, we were with our friends, they had their kids with them, we knew we would be out and about a lot, so, we would not be able, we wouldn't be enjoying the comforts or the thrill of being at a nice historic hotel or anything like that. So just, getting a basic Hilton was the way to go. And they had the free breakfast in the morning, and things went really well. That was a good decision for this trip. Oh, and I forgot to mention, we went to Arizona also, which Arizona was not there when we were here last time. I think they started it up in 2010. And it's kind of a sibling attraction to Bear Country USA in South Dakota. I've put up a video of Bear Country if you want to check that out. And I will be putting up a video of Arizona. Very cool place. Drive-through zoo. Very much bear focused. And that was a lot of fun. And it was very much like Bear Country USA if you've been there. So... anyway, yeah, that was our drive from Phoenix to Flagstaff. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for sticking around with me. I'm going to put up some other videos of our adventures in Arizona. Feel free to check those out. If you've watched my other videos before, by the way, I'm using a new camera. My other one took a nosedive. It's kind of a cheap one. I'm probably going to replace it here in the very near future, and I've also got a new computer, so I'm kind of editing things a little differently too. But yeah, thanks for hanging out with me. Thanks for watching. Let me know what you think. I'd love to hear from other people. I'd love to hear from some locals in Arizona about their thoughts and what they think about things to do and see in their state. Thanks.